It is 5:30 and the meeting's starting automatically. Be aware. Mics are on.
It's not late. I'm so excited.
It's set up too low.
All kinds of
Down.
junk.
Okay, school, you know, actually, maybe even neighbors are having this.
We're going to start.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. I want to thank everyone for coming out this evening. On Monday, August 7th, I have, let me see here, 5:36. I'm going to call the Webster Conservation Commission meeting to order. First thing I'd like to remind everyone is that this meeting is being recorded, so if anyone needs, for purposes of note-taking and so forth, you can always grab that from our conservation office. So I do like to make that announcement. The next announcement I do like to, I just want to mention is welcome to a new commissioner, Commissioner Jay Camarada. This is his first meeting, so welcome to him. So first up, our public notices of intent, also known as NOIs. We have 52 Lake Parkway. This is DEP number 323-1251. This is the Bartlett High School project. And if I could ask anyone that would be representing the project to please come forward. And I do want to welcome Brandon Phaneuf and his team as the peer reviewing on the project for wetlands for us. So, sir, if you would just, the microphones are a little sensitive, just speak directly into it.
Can you hear me now?
And just announce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Vince Doobie. I'm with Flansburgh Architects.
Okay,
We're the architects for the Bartlett High School.
wonderful.
And we're here just to present a little bit of overview for the project, for at least from my standpoint architecturally, and then we'll have a little bit of landscape drawings that I'll speak to a little bit. And then we have an athletic field, and then the civil engineer will speak at last. Okay?
Okay, all right. Can everyone hear Vince okay? All right, you might just need to
Yeah.
speak a little bit.
So I get a little bit closer to the mic, okay?
Okay. So is he plugged in?
Yeah, I'm plugged in, but I think we need to be switched over. Okay,
Great.
okay.
Looks a little different from when I went there.
Sorry, apologize. I had this set up a little bit before. I'll start again, sorry. It went to sleep while I was... Okay. Okay, so just the beginning of the phase, this really just documents more or less existing conditions where we are, but we're, as you know, probably construction has started, and they've added these modular classrooms here in the front of the school. During the first phase of the project, the school is being divided into 3 sections, an A wing, a middle section, the B wing, and then the section here, which is basically the auditorium and gymnasium, the C wing. So this will be the first phase that we're looking to do. Contractor will have his trailers generally over here, and the contractor will be doing some site work basically around here, and then the renovation of the interior of the C wing. So the building is about 184,000 square feet now, and we're going to be reducing it by taking off some parts of the building in certain sections. After the C wing is complete, students are in A wing, some of the modulars, students are in some of these classrooms here, and as well as the C wing, and then the B wing will be renovated with some additional site work, again, around the back of the building.
Now, if I can just ask, the modular classrooms that have been installed or are being installed now, any disturbance that had been done on that, in that area, you've got proper erosion control
Currently,
there,
yes.
and it'll be stabilized?
There is
Okay.
project.
How long
control.
are those modular classrooms intended to be there?
They will be there for at least 2.5 years till probably the summer of 2026.
Okay.
Okay?
Now, are they going to be taken down later?
Yes,
Okay.
they will be taken down eventually. Okay, so after the B wing is completed, The work will then move to the A-wing, which is where the district office is in here. And then they will, there's a pre-K element here, and they'll introduce a new parking lot in the back, some additional parking here, and then we still have the modulars in place when the B and the C wing are completed. And then finally, after the A wing is completed, so all these three now will be in place, we start to take down the modulars from the front. And then you can see underneath that little shaded area, but there's some parking. So eventually that becomes a parking lot. So the structure is that the driveway is also becoming a one-way directional driveway. So it'll just be one-way counterclockwise around the site. And then there'll be parking. And then this is already the bus drop-off, and that'll retain as the bus drop-off, and there'll be some parent drop-off along here. And then at the completion, this is what it will look like when it's completed. So the school will basically have a little bit different configuration because we took out some sections here. These little white spots are little areas within the building that we've taken out for some light wells. And then generally the site will more or less remain as it is, except that we'll have a one-way direction, and then we'll have some reconfigured parking lots here in the front and in the back, but to add some additional parking. Okay.
Okay.
Landscaping-wise, again, this is just kind of the general overview of the landscaping, but the existing woodlands that we have, we're trying to maintain as much of that as possible. In the areas where we've taken out some of the trees where we did for the modulars, once this is reconfigured, some new trees will be added back in order to help, repopulate that with some areas, and then some natural grass areas will be also put in there for lower maintenance.
Now, out of curiosity,
You want to go back?
yeah, I might just be getting a little bit ahead, but if you just go back there, where you had, it says reconfigured parking lot, where you've got the modular, the actual modular classrooms right now, are you just going to end up grading that down and just putting vegetation back in there, or is there any possibility for doing something like maybe a pollinator garden or something where maybe the science department could utilize it?
What kind of a garden was that?
I'm sorry?
Did you say what kind of a garden was there?
Like a pollinator garden or a,
Pollinator garden?
seeing, recharge
Yeah.
in real time.
I will kind of advance the next couple of
Okay.
slides, but if you look here, we do have a recharge space over down here.
Okay,
So there will be some of that once it's reconfigured. But this will be slightly, regraded to allow for some mounding, berming, if you'd like,
okay,
to enhance the different configuration. So just in the back, we have the parking spaces in the back, and the new pre-K area here, and then some, this is a separate drop-off for the buses for the pre-K students in the back, and then visitor parking for the pre-K drop-off, and then some staff parking at this area. And then again, in the front, we have a exterior sort of dining space off of the new cafeteria location, and then some, trees around that, and then this is a kind of a retention basin over here. And then, if I could, I'll just...
Now, these existing woodland areas, those are to not be disturbed, right?
They're generally not being disturbed. In other words, the woodlands over there, we're looking to clean it out from the underbrush so that we can make it a little bit more accessible. Right now, there's a little bit of overgrowth underneath the canopy. So we're trying to go in there and kind of just do some light cleaning up of some of that
Okay.
area down below it. And I'd just like to read what the landscape architect had noted here. He's basically saying that the disturbed wetlands will be seeded with a native New England wet mix containing a variety of perennials, grasses, and sedges with some annual ryegrass for quick germination. The rest of the site will be mostly lawn and a mix of native canopy trees, sugar maples, red maples, specimen trees, American larch, and understory trees, serviceberry, river birch. Areas that are challenging to mow or require screening will have a mix of evergreen and deciduous shrubs, juniper and fragrant sumac. So
Okay.
generally,
So maybe something, maybe one of these are probably what I'm thinking of when it comes to like a rain garden,
I think so.
and, something like the science department can use it, it'd be great.
Yeah,
So-
so I'm sorry, here's the existing, bioswale that we mentioned earlier before. And then again, no more area here in the front. And so the idea is that, again, he's trying to mix in native grasses and things like that for a low maintenance so that there's not a lot of disturbance.
Okay.
Okay?
Where on this diagram is the closest wetland, the stream we're concerned with?
This is kind of goes off of the wetlands are really further
Oh,
away.
okay.
Yeah, that's,
Just
and
to
and
get an
sorry,
idea, though, yeah.
The further ones the next engineers will
Okay.
describe more or less.
We're
what
jumping
that-
ahead, right? I
It's not on-
apologize.
It's not on my slides,
Okay.
but it will be shortly. So
Okay.
if there's no other questions for me architecturally or landscape-wise, I'd like to turn it over to Jonathan Charwick. He is our athletic field consultant, and so he would like to, demonstrate what's going on with the athletic fields. Okay?
Robin, there's a big map.
Okay,
I think it'll help you a lot to answer that question.
but still, I like to see it there.
Could-
Yeah, you see it on
Just
here.
one moment, please. Pam, could you pass me that packet? Yeah, this is mine. I left it down there. Thank you. How you doing?
Good. Good evening. So my name is Jonathan Charwick. I'm a landscape architect from Activitas. As Vince mentioned, we're the sports field designers for the project. So our portion of the project is the far east, the existing track and field. So what you're seeing on the screen on the left-hand side is the existing site, existing aerial showing the bordering vegetated wetlands and all the associated buffers. So as you can see, there are wetlands to the northwest and along the west edge and to the south of the existing track. So the track and field currently sit within those wetland buffers. To the right is the proposed project. So essentially what we're doing is we're holding the far west edge of the existing track and expanding it toward the east. So the reason we're doing that, right now it's a narrow field, so it's really good for football but not other sports. So we're making the field wider to allow for soccer and other multi-purpose use. When you do that with the track, it's sort of like a rubber band, so when we make it wider, it actually becomes less long. I note that because the north edge of the track, actually we're able to reestablish with lawn areas, so we're gaining more grass space to the north of the track. So it's currently an existing 6-lane running track. We're going to keep it 6 lanes with an 8-lane straightaway on the far right-hand side. That's more for to get sprints to occur quicker during events. We're expanding it to the existing press box that's along the east side of the property and providing an accessible walkway that from the main drive that goes north of the athletic fields. Is about a 6-foot wide walkway that goes around the west-south edge so you can get spectators to the far right-hand side of the track and field. The inside field is currently grass. We're going to renovate it to natural grass as well. Essentially, we're going to strip the topsoil, screen it, respread it, and add some irrigation. And then the D areas, which are basically the area north and south of the end lines, where it's known as high jump, and then long triple jump at the end. Right now, those are grass areas. A majority of them are grass areas, but so we're going to convert those to asphalt. Essentially, there's some drainage issues that occur on that track now. There's a lot of stormwater that comes from the north side. So usually that's a fairly wet area. There's also only about 6 catch basins in the track now, so we're going to be providing some additional drainage to get that stormwater off the site and outlet it where it is now. So to talk a little bit about drainage, there is some drainage pipe from the northwest corner that collects stormwater from that wetland. That's going to continue to occur, so that water will go into the drainage system that runs along the west sideline and outlets south of the track. For some of the new drainage, we're providing some additional drainage pipe and going to be outletting it in the south wetland area as well. So essentially all the water that's going to the track now is going to still flow and run west, or I'm sorry, south of the track where it does now. We do expand the track a little bit on the west side where that accessible walkway is. However, we're not disturbing any trees. Right now there is some lawn area that's adjacent to the track over there, so where you see that the 25-foot NDB in the southwest portion where the accessible walkway comes around, we're expanding the footprint of the track over there, but we're not removing any trees. There's already some grass area that's pre-disturbed. That's where we're putting that. But what you see, again, based on the track reconfiguration, we are gaining some additional landscape north of the track, and you also see in kind of the northeast corner where the javelin area is.
What
Go
is
ahead.
so? What is the closest point of this track to the wetland delineated line? That upper,
the
let's call
closest-
it the northwest.
So this is probably the northwest corner. This is the little bit of a pinch point where we're probably about 5 or 6 feet within that existing edge, but we're still
Well, that would
outside
be
the existing-
southwest.
I'm sorry?
That would be the southwest.
Southwest, I'm sorry. Yep.
Okay,
And then when you go down along here, this is generally where the existing
Yep.
edge of the track is now. So we've sort of, moved it to the east as best as possible.
but let's talk north, because it seems like we're growing a little bit, which is fine, but what potentially can be disturbed in the north here? From what I vaguely remember, I believe it rises up and there's a little bit of outcropping
In the northeast,
in the
correct.
northeast corner there.
Yep.
Is any of that being disturbed and taken out?
This corner is right now. This area, in order for us to expand, we're grading a little bit in that corner.
Okay.
So in order for us to make it wider, there's going to be a little bit of earthwork and grading that occurs in that northeast corner.
All right, north and northwest, where we're starting to get towards our wetland area. Are you keeping, is that going to be the same shape that it is now, or are you moving that north?
No,
Is
the track
moving
actually
north?
moved away. So if you look on the left image, you see where the existing track is, between the 25 and the
Okay.
50 foot.
Yep.
When you look over here, we basically have the track outside, right on the edge of the 50 foot. So
Okay, so
this
it's-
green strip here, that's where we're pulling some out of
Okay,
that wetland.
awesome, okay,
Yep,
okay.
So, excuse me,
sure.
in your low areas by the wetlands that been relocated a little bit, so to speak, do you think there's enough, obviously you took into effect the compensatory storage with the configuration as shown, I believe? Is that correct?
There should be, and when, Alicia from St. Emilios, when she reviews the civil engineering, she's taken into account some of the stormwater management for the entire site as part of some of the work we're doing here, so she'll be able to talk about the compensatory storage a little bit.
Thank you.
Great, thank you, Jay. All right, let's continue with this. I just wanted to kind of highlight those areas, and then just actually before, what this is gonna stay, it's gonna go to sod with irrigation. This is not gonna be an astroturf field.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, it's a natural grass field now, going to be a natural grass field. Essentially, part of the reason why we're rebuilding the field as well, some of the pitches are a little off. There are some drainage
Oh,
issues
yeah,
inside
yeah.
the field, so, we're going to strip the topsoil, regrade it so that we're going to have good positive pitch from the middle of the field toward the sidelines.
It was that way 23 years ago when I was there, so. Now, irrigation, are we gonna try to capture rainwater and have this be more of a naturalized irrigation, or how is that gonna?
No, I believe we're going to be, so I believe the other natural grass fields have irrigation, so we're going to be tapping off the irrigation system and service that is their service west of the site. And I'm not sure, is that, Vince, do you know anything about that irrigation system? We haven't designed it. Okay.
Okay.
So the intent is to irrigate, but as we're going through, we're trying to finalize documents, so we're working on that design
All
right
right,
now.
because, if we can utilize, that's a vast area. If we can utilize rainwater, have it stored there, and then utilize it when it's there, it's less, less being used and resources on the town, so. Any questions on that, folks?
What seed are you using in the low areas, do you know? Vegetation?
So we're going, so for the field itself, it's going to be a Kentucky Blue mix and then probably a general lawn mix north of this edge. We're really not disturbing anything lower than here. Really, where the asphalt, we're matching those grades because off the track, it's pretty flat there, obviously, before it gets to the woods. So we're really, where we're going to put the asphalt walkway, we're really not disturbing anymore. So it'll be a general lawn mix just on the few feet of the periphery, as we need to reestablish it.
Thank you.
All right, all right, let's continue. Thank you.
That covers that, so I'll turn it over to Alicia from Semios to talk about the civil end.
Oh,
Go ahead.
Rich, you got a question?
Yeah, so is there only one access point to that field, the football field?
There's going to be two. So we have the existing drive right now that goes from the high school just north of the athletic fields. So that's going to be your main access in through here. The whole track right now, there's no fencing. We're going to put a 4-foot high chain link fence around the track. That's really for spectator management so that when events are happening in the track, spectators will be on the outside. And we are providing a secondary, just an emergency access off Cosmos. Again, that's going to be fenced. Usually, That's really for if there's a need for, let's say for a football game, if we need to bring an ambulance or some type of other emergency activity. But this is meant to be locked up and not used on a day-to-day basis, really sort of secondary means of egress.
So there's not going to be any access from that northeast corner where it abuts a parking lot?
That's a condo complex there.
Okay.
So is there going to be an access point out into the condo complex?
No access through there.
Okay. All right, so the current access road that runs out onto Comma Street, I think it is?
Cosmos. Yep.
Cosmos Street, so that will remain, and I'm sure are you going to be bringing equipment in through that way to do the project, or are you going to come in through the high school side?
Haven't determined that yet. I assume probably what makes sense is coming through the school to access the site. I don't think we're going to want to bring, construction equipment through Cosmos and disturb that neighborhood. So, really the intent is, there's already a double gate there, an existing gate for access now, so we're really just replicating and just providing a little bit of pavement.
Each phase of construction, the commission likes to see everything spelled out. This is happening, this is happening, this is happening. Staging will be here, refueling will be here, stockpiles will be here. We like to see construction sequence on everything, and if you're breaking this, which I would definitely recommend because this is a sizable project, which it seems like you're breaking the project into sections to do, and I think that for us there, when we get to the conditions piece, seeing what the construction sequence is going to be, and if we were to go and take a look and we see an issue, we can say, hey, these areas of your orders of conditions, you're in violation, you got to take care of them right away. And then also, I would probably think that once another section or another phase of the project starts, it's a good point to check in with the staff and the commission to come in and, all right, this is where you're at with this section of the project. You're going to start this section. I see it's all set and ready to go, rather than just go in and set up erosion controls all over the place and kind of have it a little chaotic. We like our projects organized, so I just want to put that out there first and foremost. So.
One last question.
Sure.
On that primary access point, is there any sort of fencing along that, particularly the northern side of that, protecting the wetlands, which is closer to the basketball courts?
Yeah, I believe there's a fence between the driveway and the athletic fields to the south, and I do believe there is a fence along the perimeter between the private condos and the school
There
property.
is an old fence there, I know for a fact. But to protect the wetland, now the wetlands and kind of the woods. Oh, right along there is one, yeah.
That's why I was asking, like that northern part of that whole primary access
Across,
point.
yeah, it never used to be, but it's almost all gated off now. There's that fence that runs right along, actually, the wetland, and then right along here.
Yeah, and it's a little bit overgrown in certain
It used to just be
areas.
this corner at one point, but I noticed that it's all the way down there now. So is there going to be a fence on the other side too? Do we know?
On the south side of the driveway, there
Yeah, for the
there already
fields?
is a fence now to enclose the athletic
Okay.
fields, correct?
All right, so, all right, so I'm assuming that Alicia's going to talk about the next phase in the fields and all that?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, from an athletic, so the track and field is the only athletic fields being touched as part of this project. So the baseball, softball, that area is not inside the project anymore. So that is all going to remain as an existing condition.
Okay. All right. So nothing is going on with any of the baseball field at all? Like, we're not,
Correct, yep.
all right.
Yep, the baseball, softball field, and those natural grass fields. Previously, there was some work that was going to be considered, but from a
That's
budgetary
probably what I
standpoint, that was
saw.
removed
That's
from the
probably what I
project.
saw
Yeah, so-
before.
So now, the only outdoor athletics is the track and field renovation.
Okay. All right.
In regard to Joey's question, excuse me, Joey.
Yeah, sure.
Do you have a CPM or a bar chart or anything showing the sequential phasing, so that you can adopt your methodology for the job?
I don't for the track and field because that's just my portion. Do we have anything that
Okay.
relates to phasing?
I
don't have a bar chart, but what I was showing you before, those different phases, that's the, A wing, B wing, C wing, those are the phases that are being planned, and I can tell you, those are the dates of those, I can give you that if you're interested, but.
I'm sorry, sir, I didn't hear you. And how do you show that? I'm
Yeah, you
just
can,
curious.
you folks can come up here. Alicia, you can sit up here
Yeah,
too.
I'm sorry, I
mean,
didn't capture that.
Might as well have
but
the
thank
team
you.
up here.
Around,
I'd
you're
just
fine.
like to move this a little bit. So these are kind of what we're showing, but the dates are right here.
Oh,
So these are the dates. So basically, we are, so September to November of this year, that's what we're calling phase 0. That's where they're putting the modulars in, and we're getting it prepared for the construction. The construction doesn't really start, technically, it would be November of this year, we would try to be signing up a contractor.
Yep,
How soon he actually gets onto the site and starts doing work, it could be December, he's starting in the middle of winter time. At this point, he might be doing more interior work than he's going to be doing any exterior work. But
Yeah.
obviously, he's going to be bringing in trailers and things like that. So that's going to happen. The first phase, we're looking at basically 14 months. So November of this year till the end of December of next year, so end of December of 2024.
okay,
Then he would move in, and associated with that, probably in the springtime, he's probably going to be doing the work around the school itself. When he gets to this field, I don't have a clear understanding of when he would do that, because it would be dependent on weather, it would be dependent on a number of different things, as well as sort of the contract and what we decide to actually put it in. So then,
Okay.
again, so following that first year of, to December of 2024,
mhm,
in the spring or the January of 2025 until August of 2025, they would be working on the center section, the B wing. Again, and
Yep.
associate any of the exterior work that kind of follows along with that adjacent to the building. Following that, the A wing would start, and that would happen between, we're calling it July of 2025 and March of 2026. Basically, they're going to be doing that, the A wing during that time. And then
Okay.
after that is the site work. So then they would start again in the spring of 2026 to then get rid of the modulars, update those things, repave the roadways and so forth.
okay.
That's, if you're looking for a bar chart, I can put into a bar chart for you if your preference is that, but currently those are the dates.
It probably, something like this, rather than just having it on a big sheet like this, having that kind of off on its own so that there's a page that shows phasing. And what would, I think it would definitely be helpful for anyone, whether it's the public or whether it's a board reviewing it, what's going to happen during that particular phase. The first phase, you're going to set up erosion controls, and then
Right.
if there's wetlands involved, obviously, we're going to need our staff to go out and review them and, talk with the construction crew, make sure that they understand the order of conditions for that particular phase, and then the next one, and then the next one. And if there are phases that are overlapping, which obviously large projects like this, it can happen, we just, it's a way for us, and what we've found with some projects, a lot of larger projects in our community, is that having construction sequence and phasing things out like this, it's so much easier to keep track of everything. And if, there's 150 construction workers on a site. They can make a mistake, and we want to be able to make sure that we can pinpoint the problem and put a fix and a Band-Aid on it right away before it becomes a bigger issue. So,
I'm not sure if this question is appropriate at this time, given you're showing the architecture, but surrounding the area from the wetlands, is there a gradient? Because I'm used to seeing maps with gradients on them. Should this be there now, or is that a later time?
what was that?
The grade?
The grading and whatnot? I
Yeah,
think once we,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
but
think
it's-
once we
Well,
get
I'm not sure,
into-
again, it's appropriate now. I need to ask them because we're talking about architecture. So at another plan, you'll be having the surrounding gradient of the wetland, right?
Yes, we submit a grading plan for the site.
But it's,
But
okay, yeah.
Since then till now, there are very minor changes.
okay. Folks, do we have any more questions before we turn it over to Alicia? And then we'll have Brandon, our third-party reviewer to give his comments, concerns, and feedback. Anything else? All right. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Alicia, welcome.
Luck.
Sorry, I'm going to have to fix this.
Isn't better, yeah. Isn't better. Maybe stay here to operate this thing if needed. I'm not familiar with your laptop. My name is Alicja Zukowski from Semiotes Consultants. I am a civil engineer for the project. And what we're seeing now is existing a survey plan, which show entire site, and in color we have wetlands, and we have a buffers. This is 25-foot buffer, 50-foot buffer, and 100-foot buffer. Currently, in this location, we have about 8 feet wide pedestrian path from the school to the fields, and it's used only for pedestrian and for maintenance of the fields. And this is existing driveway going around the school, and we are not planning to go beyond curb line of this driveway. There is a drainage on site which discharge to existing wetlands. There is main line going across the street to the pond. Then there is another one right here with discharge to the wetlands. Another one here, right here, and then we have on this side of the site which is west of the track, which we have large 18-inch pipe, which connect this wetland to the wetland at the south side. There is existing wetland right here between the walk and the parking lot. Well, let's go. Next one is here. Oh, okay. This is a proposed condition, soil erosion control. So what we have here, which I'm going to have an enlarged plan for this access driveway. So it's going to be 20 feet wide access driveway only for emergency vehicle. We're going to have a gate right here, which is going to prevent any cars to enter this area. And otherwise, it's going to be still pedestrian walk to access to the fields. And the brown lines show soil erosion control, which we're going to have compost sacks, which going around the site right here, also protect existing woodlands. And on this side, it's going to wrap around the field and go around the area which is currently a paved area. And are we going to remove this pavement here?
I think so.
Yes, so we're going to remove this pavement from this area. And so the next one is, oh, sorry, this one doesn't work. So this is the site, shows the wetland in relation to the site, and the most important thing, the site, the drainage. So what we proposed is we're adding underground infiltration systems for the area where we're adding any extra pavement. And this is the one for this access driveway. And there is another one for additional parking lot. And we have 3 on this side, which is right here, another is right here, and one more small one on the west side. On each of the outlet to wetland, we're gonna have, can I zoom it in? Okay, so let's see, this one is the first, this is existing drainage line which connect to existing catch basin and then discharge into the wetland. Because we are creating additional impervious areas, we're gonna put a water quality unit there to treat the flow and remove suspended soil TSS. Then there is, can I?
So that's a discharge point on, in the south in this photo
Excuse me?
here? That's a discharge point
This is the
there?
existing discharge port right here. And we're dropping a water quality unit.
Okay, because see, what I was thinking here was because we've got some abutters that have water issues. If somehow this could be configured, you know, I was thinking that that area right there, right next to the parking lot, would be a great place for, you know, maybe some sort of a rain garden or something like that. You
Right
know,
here, well, then, there is not really room right here. You're talking about this area
No,
beyond
I'm not
the-
talking about the area, I'm talking about right next to the parking lot.
Yeah.
Put a
Oh.
depression in there.
Well,
And-
we don't have, actually, we have a high point right in this location. And then we have existing tree lines which are to remain. They are not removed during the temporary classrooms construction.
After the classrooms are gone.
After the classroom is gone, it still stays the same. There are trees there, existing ones. And there is a parking lot, and this area is high, so,
That's the area that I'm talking about. You might be able to utilize as some sort of a rain garden. Divert the water into that rather than sending the water into someone's backyard.
actually.
I mean, that's something for you to look at. Obviously, we're going to have more than one meeting, but that is a concern.
Like,
and
the- probably the
there are butters and neighbors that have concerns with that. And I did not know that that was going to be a discharge point right there. So, you know, what I'm thinking more of, let's try to use nature as much as possible.
Right in
And
this location?
so, I mean, obviously, you'd need to take a look at it, Alicia.
Yeah,
and
we're
see if
gonna, we're
it'd be-
gonna talk to
could be
our LA consultants about this area.
Yeah.
How far away are the neighbors in that area?
Excuse me?
How far away are the neighbors from that discharge area?
How far what?
They're right, they're
How far are the, away are
They're
the
right there.
neighbors?
They're right, the
They're
house is
right there? Okay.
They
It's
are
gonna be a problem, yeah.
somewhere in these locations.
So how many feet?
They're not very close.
50 feet, oh, okay.
I think this is full.
So
Oh, okay.
my other question here, Alicia, is,
Oh, okay, I got it.
and, you know, is the other, if you go over towards the wetland that's adjacent to where the teachers park currently, if you go a little bit north here,
Which one?
no, keep going north.
This one?
Next to what, C-section? C-section of
Oh,
the
this
building?
one?
Yep, keep going, yep. If you pull that down a little bit so we can all see it. There we go. That, is that a Coltech that's right next to the wetland? In the ground there?
One
Is
right,
that a-
this parking lot? No, that's not the,
So what's the square that's running underneath the access road there?
oh, right
there.
here?
Is that a Coltech?
Yeah, this one. We have few catch basin with discharge into the underground infiltration system and then into this little wetland.
Okay.
So we basically mitigate any additional flow and actually more than existing is.
My question with this is I've actually never seen a recharge unit so close to a wetland before. So, I mean, I'm just wondering if it's going to not do its purpose and maybe that should it be moved away so that it can restore and then discharge into where it needs
Well,
to discharge?
the move well, you know, the other problem is right here that the area is very flat. So, and I really cannot, if we're gonna move south, we're gonna disturb the
Even if it just moves further down the road,
East.
and it's away from, say, yeah, further east, and it's away
But
from
then,
the
you know, if we're
wetland.
going to go further east, we're not going to catch this area.
Well, I mean, that roadway is relatively flat right now, and if you're going to be tearing it
The
up.
roadway is very flat, you know, that's why, as you can see, I had to add many catch basins to accommodate the grade. And because the purpose of this driveway is for pedestrians, I need to provide handicap accessible grading there. So I thought about putting, you know, this further up, but then, you know, if I put in this location, I won't be able really, you know, to get this area into the infiltration system. If you think that that's fine, I can move this infiltration system further up and just simply let this area go into this water quality unit and discharge directly into the wetland.
As of right now, are there any units that are capturing water and discharging into this current
No, there is
wetland now?
nothing there.
Because from my memory, this is fairly small, it's a fairly small wetland, but I think it's been pretty degraded because of all the runoff from the asphalt, all the silt and all that stuff. So that's just, I'm just wondering if we're now collecting more water and putting it into this smaller wetland, could it potentially?
It's not really more water because we have, we're adding impervious area. So we're just catching whatever is on the driveway and then slowly release into, we have like a manhole at the end,
Yeah.
which hold the water
Yeah.
and then slowly
Okay.
release. It's not, you know, like it's directly going into the wetlands.
Okay,
We just filled, first we're filling in the infiltration system. Those are the small gullies.
yeah,
And then, you know, the water gonna go over.
Uh-huh.
And we're keeping actually, if I remember correctly, don't hold my word exactly. I think we're keeping 2 years storm completely within the infiltration system.
okay. All right, these are just little things that I'm just seeing, I'm just catching them and just bringing them up now, and then, you know, I'll let you continue, and then we'll bring Brandon
And
into
we-
the conversation.
Yeah, because there is a fence on the south side of this driveway, so we're getting very close to the wetland itself.
Okay,
And that's why we're putting like segmental wall there just to break the grade. Otherwise, we would have to grade into the wetland. Then this parking lot, this is existing parking lot, we're just gonna be restriped and maybe, you know, mill the surface and repaved. And we are going to have catch basin, which gonna collect the water from parking lot, and it's going to be routed from water quality unit before it discharges into the this area.
okay,
And similarly is right here. We just intercept the existing flow, adding water quality unit on the and then,
So I've understood more or less everything you shared, and thank you. But the one
Let
point
me-
that Joey brought out, and I agree, the point of discharge, the whole discharge, the existing area hasn't been reconfigured. And I've never seen that before because you have your existing people who are going to be in close proximity. And I think that I, like Joe, would like to see you look at that again because I think that would be a good idea, to be quite frank.
which one?
The lowest point, your discharge.
yeah, the
What Joe
discharge
said initially.
and
I'm sorry, Joe.
having that,
You're matching existing conditions with a flared end pipe, I believe, to the side slope. And normally, that point is reconfigured because there are problems in that area a little bit.
This
I
one,
think you should
right?
Look into it. If you would,
We're
please.
talking about this very
well,
outflow.
that's one area that we've already talked about, but what Jay was talking about was the one that I was just talking about, where I was wondering if the Cultec is too close to the wetland.
That's what is existing right here.
Appreciate that.
Hold it.
We're saying the existing conditions just shows a flared-end pipes with side.
Which one you
side
talking about?
embankment.
Yeah,
Fun?
in that general area there. So now, is there going to be, there's going to be curbing along there? So we're not just going to be sheet flowing into that particular wetland, right?
This one?
Yes.
No, we have a curb there.
Okay.
And it's
Okay.
gonna be, it's little damage, but it's gonna be repaired. So whatever we're gonna have, it's not, nothing is going over into the wetlands.
Okay.
Right now, because curb is not in the good condition in this location, so some of the water is going directly into the wetland. But we're gonna have a curb, we're gonna have a new catch basin, which gonna collect the water, and it's gonna be routed through water quality units. The type of water quality units, actually, I think we're gonna change because town has very specific model which they would like to use. So I'm going to slightly rearrange the location.
Okay.
Because typically we have like those round big water quality units, and the one which town would like to have is Vortex, which are rectangle, but I'm going to have add some bypass that entire water from the site is not going to go through those units because those units cannot treat that much water. So, but it's still going to be water quality units, it's just going to be different shape.
And
Now, on this side,
now,
on-
what are these Coltex sized for? What year storm?
those are not called exotic galleys.
Okay. Well, I mean, but what are they?
We have two different types. In the areas where we have higher water table, we have those 30-inch high, and the area where we have a deeper water table, we have a 4 feet high.
Okay. And for what year storm are these sized for?
They are, the way you know, I remember, so the thing is that actually we are decreasing impervious area for the site.
Okay.
And so the existing condition and post-development gonna be lower than in existing condition in all storms, 2-year, 10-year, 25, and 100. And we're working with the planning board reviewer, Chuck, and he review all our calculations and the design.
Okay. All right.
Then,
And did you?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, 1 second. Jay, go ahead.
Well, I'm just curious, in that area where your cursor is now, in that northern part of that, it seems like there's a lot more surface area, and we don't have any storage there. Is there a reason for that? I mean, just going straight into the wetland? Nope, so you got it.
can you get this thing? No, I need to
Yeah,
zoom
coming
in.
off the parking lot, that's a rather
partic-
large
This
surface
one?
area. Yeah. It seems
This
to
one
be-
is
that's-
existing parking lot.
Right,
We're not touching any, we're not adding any area. The only thing which we do is adding some water quality unit and catch basin, repair curb, and just repave again and restripe. We are adding handicap parking spaces right here, and the little sidewalk which leads to the school. In current condition, we have one handicap parking space which is not compliant with ADR regulations. But this is existing. We are not adding a single square foot of any impervious areas. And there's like a big pipe which going that way, discharging into existing one, discharging into the wetland from the middle school site. And we're not touching this one, we're just leaving the way it is.
Have you
We
contacted
can ask
DEP
Brandon.
on, so that they're in sync to what you're about to do with permits and stuff like that eventually?
Can you repeat?
Well, maybe you can answer. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I've run into trying to get communications and permits resolved with DEP when I'm supposed to start a project.
Oh,
So
yeah,
I'm just
they-
asking the question. I assume that DEP has been in communication with some of your work?
Oh, yeah, they reviewed the project and they had two comments which gonna be addressed. One about wetland replication, and we would like to ask our wetland scientists to discuss this issue. And I think the first one, I think that's it. I think they had the comments about TSS removal, if I remember correctly, and the wetland replication.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did you have another question, Rich? All right. Alicia, you still got
I
a
have
few
to
things to
go to
touch
the
upon?
last one.
Otherwise, I'm going to bring Brandon into the conversation.
To the last one, further up. Oh, okay, this one is like a snapshot of this driveway, which you can see. This orange color is edge of existing pavement, and the
Okay.
black one is what we are proposing. And I think that's it on my side.
Okay. All right, Brandon, how are we doing?
Good, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brandon Fanoff, professional wetland scientist with Ecosystem Solutions. I have my colleague Calvin Chase with me. Good evening, everyone, and I apologize to the applicant's team for having to crane their neck if they have to answer some questions for me, which I'm going to have some comments, but I also may have some questions of the applicant as well, so apologize for having to make you crane your neck. The way I like to start out my presentations is just by going over the basics and starting with the wetland resource areas, where they are and what kinds they are, so the commission can have an overview of what the resource areas are and the ones to be concerned about. And I was wondering if there's a digital copy of anywhere of the 11 by 17 that I handed out that could go on the,
Did you have that on?
no, we don't have that yet. I know I just submitted it today, so it
Okay.
may not be available.
Is this something you might be able to get through email? Open it up in email right now?
This plan would actually work, too.
Okay.
If you were able to, could you zoom out for me?
So I had given
Zoom out?
Brandon the whole entire.
Or you want the
hard drive.
full-size plan?
Okay.
This one, or you want the full-size?
Something that shows more the whole area,
So the next one.
so that way the audience might be able to follow along. There we
How's-
go.
This one
That's
works?
beautiful, thank you.
This one good? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so let's start on the west side, which would be the left side. Way up top between the middle school and the faculty parking lot is a wetland, which really didn't come into play in my review. And then go south of that, which is a wetland that's between the faculty parking lot and the walkway. There you go, thank you. Whoever's doing that. The walkway that's going to be expanded to 20 feet.
Yep.
So that area there, a lot of the wetlands on this site have been what I call compartmentalized since, or when the high school and the middle school was built. I think it was back in the 1970s,
76 to 79.
76, well,
I think it's 76.
76, okay. Well, at the time, there was a
And I-
Wetlands
and then
Protection
it
Act.
was-
Opened
and
in
then it was-
79.
Yeah, and then it was also middle school, which did some changes to this area.
Yeah, the middle school is much newer. But anyway,
Right here.
So at that time, there was a Wetlands Protection Act, but its nickname in the 1970s was the Wetland Fill Act, right? Which means that all you had to do was just come in and say, hey, I'm filling in the wetland, and the Conservation Commission would say, thanks for letting us know, right? So a lot of that happened here at the high school, and especially around the athletic fields, which is a common occurrence I found throughout the Commonwealth, because you need so much land to build a school complex that It's just impossible to avoid the wetlands, and eventually you run into some. And what they usually do is they put the high school on the high ground and the athletic the fields and the low ground, and they flatten that area out. And I think that's exactly what happened here, at least in part. So that area right there between the faculty parking lot and the proposed, not that one, the one south of it. There we go, that one there, it got compartmentalized at one time. Okay, so then we keep on heading east, and up top, in that top right corner, there's a wetland. It's flagged as a bordering vegetated wetland.
This one or this one?
The one up top,
Yep, right in there.
right?
Yep.
But that, actually, step back quick, the one in the middle that I was just talking about, that's a bordering vegetated wetland as well, because there's a little stream that runs through it. And on the west side of it, it goes into a pipe to points unknown, unless the team knows where it goes, and I'd be very
You're
interested.
talking about this pipe?
Not this one, the one that we were just at.
Oh,
Yeah, that one. It goes into a pipe on the west side. I'm not quite sure where it goes.
okay, there is outlet pipe right here. And it's connecting to, going around the school and connect to the pond on the other side of the Poland Street.
Okay, so it doesn't go anywhere to the south.
No, this one definitely go just across, and it's going southwest, and then turn into through parking lot on Poland Street.
Thank you.
There is the pond. I don't know, when you were walking the campus, if you saw that giant pond called Moriarty Pond, all the way,
side
all
of
the
high
way to the
school.
west. That takes most of the stormwater from this property.
Hmm.
And
So it's
that
going
was
that
pretty
way.
much formed almost as a detention basin way back along.
You could do that back then.
Yeah, yeah.
A pond or a wetland could be your detention basin, right?
But you can see where, like I was telling, like what you and I had talked about, at one point, there's a lot of hydrologic connectivity where if the development didn't sit here, you'd have wetlands all throughout the system. And I mean, a perfect example is what you're talking about. The parking lot came and slapped down on it, and then the condo complex came down and slapped on it, and it probably would all connect.
Yeah, and everything could get compartmentalized.
Yeah.
Okay, so on the north side of the track, there's a wetland. Yeah, there you go, that one right there. It's flagged as a bordering vegetated wetland, but it's mostly just a man-made intermittent stream that intercepts water coming off the hill. There's a little bit of BVW, but at the bottom left of that area, there's a catch basin, which is, in my report, there are pictures. I have a set of pictures in there that show that actual catch basin. It's right after the written
Is this
report.
one? Correct?
Yeah, right there. See that catch basin?
Yeah, it's
go-
rim elevation is shown on it.
So it's picture number 5.
So this is right next to flag A15?
Correct.
Okay.
So you have this, this concrete catch basin where all the water flows into it coming off the hill. Okay? And the picture right below it is a picture of that man-made swale leading to it. Now, when I was in there, it was in, the middle of July. We'd had a pretty wet June and into July, so it was actually a good time to go there to see which way the water was flowing, right? And from there, we were wondering, where does the water go? But it seems to me, and I'll get confirmation from the Samuels team, that it goes south to the, can you zoom out again? Right. It goes to the south end of the track.
Right.
Yeah, right there. Yeah. So it goes underneath the track and maybe even part of the football field, and discharges down there near where the wetland replication area is proposed.
Do you
Okay.
think a camera evaluation,
I think the
Especially for the
easier
drainage
thing would
might
be
have
to do a dye test.
eye test?
A dye test.
test.
That might be the easier thing to do,
Okay. Thank you.
Of
Yeah.
the sketch basin?
if you wanted to make sure. Absolutely, would be my way to do it.
But I think there is a, so it connects, so basically Where you want to digest, from this catch basin to this catch basin?
Just want to see where it goes from that upper catch basin to where it discharges
So if
again in the
it's going to show up
wetland.
in this catch basin, we know that it's going south.
At the commission's discretion. If you really want that happen, that's something that could be done.
I don't think it's going to affect our design or existing condition anyways.
I think it's prudent just to at least find out, I mean, you know, I don't even know if the original plans for this even exist. So, I mean, I might as well just find where it goes, so.
Right.
At least that would tell us if it was functional or not, or there's a break in the line,
Yeah.
which would then hamper things.
Right. That was part of my concerns here, is there's so much stormwater infrastructure. If you're going to be redoing the whole field, and you're going to have, you know, earth-moving activities, big yellow machines could potentially break a line. I don't know how deep they are. They're probably deep enough for it to not to matter, but I thought I would bring it up and let you guys run with it if you want to. Okay? All right, could you zoom out one more
And so
time?
if you can put in the conditions of the approval, we're just simply going to go there and wrap the die and see where it's going to show up.
Okay.
Brandon, can I just ask,
Sir?
did you actually see water flow going into that area?
Yes, I
And
did.
Did you go to the end where the discharge would have occurred? Did you see flow coming out of that?
Oh, yeah, so on the south side, can you see that screen at all?
Yeah.
At the-
we got it right
okay.
here, Yep.
Right here?
Where it discharges out,
Just,
Oh,
right, on the south
yeah,
side.
there,
In fact, there's a little bump out on the south side, right there.
Yep.
That's where it comes out. And just to the right of that is where the replication area is proposed.
well, if we can talk about the replication area. So actually, the way it looks like right here, and Andrea gonna talk more, it's not responding really. Okay, so, we think that this area is not really wetland because it just connect those two catch basins. So, we just, for the purpose of presentation, we just remove this little area right here. So if this is not a wetland, so I assume that we don't have to replicate.
Interesting, because the plan that I reviewed showed a little wetland right there.
That's correct, but as we had discussion that the first delineation was done before a final survey was completed, and we were under impression that the pipe which terminate right here actually connect the wetland which is on the north. And then what we find out is that there is no connection. This pipe only serves those two catch basins coming from the condominiums.
And that's what I read in the report,
Yeah.
is that the catch basin further north went to there, but we found out that that was incorrect, or at least we think it's incorrect based on the amount of flow we saw. So that's why I wanted to bring it up, but
Okay.
Alicia has told me a little bit earlier, right before the meeting, that she understands that's not the case. But,
If
So, just so the board understands, so there's no longer a need for the Rutland replication area?
here's what I saw when I was out there. I saw a slight depression
Yeah.
that was holding some water. It
Okay.
had wetland plants.
All right,
It appears, per Alicia's comments, that the water's coming from a stormwater discharge. If that's the case, and I didn't see one because there was a jungle in there.
yeah, yeah,
If that is indeed a stormwater discharge and that water's coming from stormwater and it's not naturally from groundwater, I would be willing to entertain, as a wetland scientist, to say that is not a wetland. And that means it would preclude the need to have to do a wetland replication area. So I'll jump ahead real quick to address that. You know, I had a little trepidation about the location of the proposed wetland replication area.
yes,
This young lady works with Alicia and has some input on.
Oh, okay, good. Yes.
Sorry to interrupt.
okay.
No, it's good.
Andrea, do you want to sit here?
Yeah, if you can just
Okay.
come up and just,
Can you hear me?
yeah,
properly?
if
Okay.
you can just announce yourself for record. And
Absolutely.
you.
Andrea Kendall, PWS, with LEC Environmental Consultants. Our firm delineated the wetlands, and I actually went back. So, as everyone understands, the interconnectedness of these features at the time of delineation wasn't entirely clear. So out of an abundance of caution, sometimes we, delineate things, and then the goal is to, let's find something out. This particular area was overlooked in that reassessment. So I, after looking at the existing conditions plan, seeing that there are just a couple of catch basins feeding this area, and the area to the north does not feed into it, I went back out to the site, clipped my way through the multiflora rows, looked at the drainage outfall coming from the adjacent residential development, and generally what I observed was, except for, a single willow on the bank of this area, there was no wetland vegetation in the confines of this delineated area. It was just saturated ground conditions. To me, it indicates more of a drainage feature, an area, drainage conveyance that's upgradient to a wetland system that would not necessarily be considered a stream with land underwater or bank as a stream is defined. So that's my input. In terms of wetland replication, that area, I guess to the southeast, I think that was just a holding place. I did an evaluation. Wherever this goes, there are opportunities, other opportunities that are easily accessible. Not much grading would be involved. An area directly to the right or east of the existing baseball field. So with a clear passage that wouldn't take down some mature trees. So we can go into that if it becomes necessary, but that's just my assessment. I don't, it seems maybe Mr. Fanoff agrees or is open to this discussion.
You said it was saturated,
That's correct.
so I assume that it was very wet, and if we don't know where the discharge is coming from, then do you think we should pursue that a little bit in case more discharge happens?
Well, we know that the discharge originates from pavement at the existing residential. So there are a couple of catch basins that's shown with a pipe discharge into, I think it's like a concrete pipe flared end,
Thank
I
you.
think. Thank you.
Okay, great. And did you have a question, Rich? No? Okay. Thank you for that.
Thank
Yes, to answer, I am actually open to reassessing that area if, like I said, if indeed I can personally confirm that it's coming from a stormwater discharge, it would make a lot more sense to me.
Okay.
Because you see to the south of it, you get that long, straight, narrow line of wetland that has a stream in it.
Yeah.
It just seemed to me that just the other side of the walkway is probably where it originally began before things got squeezed and filled in back in the 70s. Actually kind of makes sense that there's a stormwater discharge because I was trying to figure out what the watershed for that would be, and I was having a hard time, but I've seen stranger. So, it still seems like we're kind of designing this thing on the fly. So maybe I go back there and confirm it, and if that's the case, then I'm okay discounting it as a wetland. Because the wetland replication area, as it was proposed in the plan that I've seen, some pretty, good quality forest with some large trees. It's also on a moderately steep slope, kind of difficult to work in. And I hate seeing a perfectly good buffer zone with its own value have to get cut for such a small wetland replication area. It is the law, but kind of grimace when I see that. But not only that, but the area where the wetland replication area is proposed, you have to come down a moderately steep slope. So it's not just creating the wetland replication area itself, it's accessing it. So you might have to cut down some trees just to get down to it. You might have to create a temporary access road for the machines to get down. So that wasn't very, palatable to me either. So if that's the case, then you can forego all of that, right?
Do you think that, excuse me, Joe?
No, go ahead.
Do you think that instead of doing some dye testing and whatnot, if you just hired or someone hired a camera inspection of all the lines that we're discussing, probably do it in one day, do you think that would have merit?
I'm not an expert on the best way to figure out which way pipes go underground, so I think that maybe the applicant proposes something
Yeah.
to
we
the
would-
commission's satisfaction.
Yeah. And we can obviously talk about whether, probably just, in the past, we've done dye. So a dye test would probably be prudent, unless commissioners feel differently.
Okay. Can we continue the tour? Thank you.
Continue on, sir.
Yep. Can we zoom out a little bit? There we go. Okay, so then, just to the left side, the southwest quadrant of the track, you have that long, narrow strip of wetland with a stream in it that runs to the south, where the wetland then broadens out. Okay? And there is actually some vernal pool, I saw some vernal pool flags in that larger circle in the middle to the right. Go to your right with the cursor. Yeah, there is a certified vernal pool down there, but on to the right side, go to the right. Yeah, there it is, right there too. So that's part of it as well, and I saw those flags out in the field. Okay? But here's the thing. When I was out there, I took a look we walked all along the right side of the track as well. And in that southeast quadrant, south of, I don't know, what do you call that long straight section? Is there
I think that's
is there
the
a
original-
athletic track name
Well,
for that
it's I think it's like, yeah.
The starting
starting spot.
spot?
Yeah.
Just to the right of that, I found an isolated vegetated wetland that was not flagged.
Okay.
And I have it on the overlay that I created. Now, here's the question, though, for the commission. The fact that Webster does not have a bylaw that goes above and beyond what the state requires for protection for isolated wetlands, and the fact that the Supreme Court decision came down a couple of months ago saying that isolated wetlands were no longer protected. Does it even matter to the commission, given that it's not going to be it may be an area that gets impacted, because I just saw a new slide tonight that I haven't seen in the plans that were provided to me of the shot put area. Could potentially be very close or in that area of the isolated wetland. So I'm wondering, is there any grading going to be associated with the shot put area?
This is the area, right, we're talking about?
Yeah, that general area, there's a wetland that's isolated. It's not connected, it doesn't have any stream in it, it doesn't connect to that larger wetland, but I did find it.
So if I remember from your picture, it's going to be about like this, correct?
Yeah, about like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
So
this
perhaps
area,
we
this
could-
is existing pavement, and we're just simply going to remove it. We're going to remove it, and we're going to just seed it. So nothing going to happen right here with the construction.
Can you go north a little bit? I can speak to the shot put area that's proposed just south of the existing building. That grade is fairly flat over there. Yeah, there's going to be very minimal earthwork over that. That's sort of the reason why we put it in that spot, because it is fairly flat over
Okay,
there.
let me get this.
Given the fact that we do have
Yeah.
a wetland in this area, I would probably urge you to put together, again, a sequence of how this is going to be taken out, making sure that construction vehicles just aren't piling in there, tearing it all up, tearing vegetation up, and disturbing more than what needs to be disturbed. I would imagine that you could probably go in there with a bucket truck and just scrape the top off there and then reseed it and leave it be. But again, I would leave that up to you folks to figure that out. But I know from my standpoint, I don't know about the rest of the board, but I would like to see if we've got a resource area in there that it's protected in some way. And it's far enough away from what you're going to be doing here with the project that you could probably extend over at least 25 feet away from it, I would think. Yeah.
I'll put it on the record, Mr. Chairman, that I do not believe it will qualify as isolated land subject to flooding.
Yeah.
It's on a slope, and I didn't see anywhere where water was ponding in enough amounts that it would qualify for a quarter-acre foot, which is the threshold for an ILSF.
Okay.
But I saw it. And if you could, you have the reports open again to the picture page. If you go to picture 7, along the starting area, generally along the side of that isolated wetland, seems to be where a lot of the what do you call it, the leaf dump, so to speak, is. And there's also some other miscellaneous refuse. There's a barrel down there, and that's not the only thing we found.
Out of sight, out of mind, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Dump
That's what I
down back.
found. So I thought I'd bring that to the commission's attention as well.
I would probably urge you folks, and I've been thinking about this project for several weeks now, obviously. Is there a potentially dedicated area somewhere on this property where we could create a compost area where this isn't just thrown somewhere? And the maintenance crew knows this is where everything goes. And when I went to school here, it was the custodians that cut the lawn and did the leaves and all that stuff. So I think if we were to work some sort of a naturalized, an area where this stuff can go, and and you know what, maybe that's the area, and we can get some signs in there that, there's a sign that says wetland over here, a sign that says wetland over here, but it's kind of, maybe it's got some blocks, and this is where all the clippings and everything go. But something to think about.
So you think this area would be okay because we're taking out the pavement, so we can just simply, and I think they already put some leaves there, so I assume it would be good area to do it then.
Yeah, I mean, maybe, and just to kind of encapsulate it a little bit, maybe just putting some, concrete barriers, several concrete barriers so it stays together, because
Like blocks?
we can't obviously regulate whether there's going to be any kind of fertilizers or anything on there, so.
Yeah.
Brandon,
Yes, ma'am.
you delineated a couple areas that really aren't our concern, which I'd love to see these plans out. As far as what you're saying, that they're not, Webster doesn't have an extended bylaw too. When you say Supreme Court, you mean Mass, right? Not,
No, I mean federal.
really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I didn't get on the board to do legislation. However, that being the case, if we don't have to, there could be recommendations, for different areas if we feel they might be a problem, even though it's,
Okay.
but I'm glad I really want to study your stuff to what really isn't, there are no laws applying.
If isolated wetlands are no longer protected on the federal level. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's the law of the land now.
Yep.
If you have a local bylaw, it doesn't matter. They're still protected.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So if the area of wetland that was going to get filled ends up not being a wetland, then the rest of my comments kind of go away. So I did, while I was listening tonight, I was taking more notes. So I have more questions.
Okay.
Okay. The starting area, I heard that the impervious area is going to be removed, but it's a big, like a hill. Is that going to remain, or is that going to be removed?
Is this the new starting area on the other end?
No, the old
This
starting
one,
area.
right
Oh.
here?
The old starting area, I heard that the impervious surfaces are going to be removed on top, but will that area remain because it's like a big giant mound, linear mound? Is that going to be taken out, or is that going to remain like it is?
No, I think we would remove the asphalt and just vegetate.
Just leave it at, because my comment about the isolated wetland, I think that that isolated wetland only formed after this was built in the 70s, because that long straightaway acts like a dam. So the water's coming down off the hill from the Mason Lane, Cosmos Street area, comes downhill, and I think it hits that, and then it gets dammed up, and it's been ponding up there for the last, almost 40 some odd years? 44 years?
Yeah.
Which is long enough for it to convert into a wetland. If it wasn't there, it'd probably just allow the water to sheet flow across into the larger wetland on the left-hand side.
Is this existing permeable material good stuff that you could use as a sub-base somewhere else and reshape the area? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. I don't know what the material is in there, or if it can be used anywhere else, if it was cost-effective to the town to do that.
From my time,
I don't
While
know
ago
if it's
on
an
the track,
option or
it's-
not. I'm not
does
saying
have
you have
rubber-
to or don't have to, but that it's something to think about.
Yeah, my gut tells me when we redo the track, they're gonna pulverize the asphalt, reclaim it. So they would pulverize that material, lift it, move it, and use it elsewhere in some, maybe the D areas where we're adding asphalt.
Okay.
So they probably reuse it on site and just.
Right, but that's just like the first top 6 inches.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably 3 inches of asphalt and presumably maybe 6 inches of gravel underneath, maybe.
Right, and we're looking at 2-foot contours there?
Yeah, those are really.
So 2-foot contours, you can see how many lines there, it gives you an idea how tall it is, right?
But you have a neighbors very close by. When I walk, you have a houses close. So you think about just simply get rid of this area. It's going to be too much earthworks and disturbance.
well, I mean, what I was mentioning earlier, Brandon, would this be a decent prime area for putting in some, a compost area, and rather than just dumping stuff in different wetlands around the property?
Right.
My only concern about that idea, what I was going to raise, was we're within the buffer zone and we're dumping organics into that area. And if you're concerned about, everything from fertilizers, you're going to have leaching into the wetland.
Yeah, we could probably
I'm
find,
sure
I mean,
there's gotta be
somewhere
better
else,
spots than that.
yeah.
And now this area is really, we have a bunch of trees all, on the slope of this grading, so we would have to remove those trees.
Yeah.
Okay,
They are all really heavily vegetated when you're gonna look around.
all right.
40
Alicia,
years, excuse me?
could you point to where the wetland replication area was or is
Okay, I
proposed?
removed this one already.
I
Just
think it
about
was
right
right,
there.
yeah, I
This
think it was
location.
right there, yeah,
Yeah, and we see the contour lines?
yeah.
They're kind of steep. Maybe there in that little triangle, it's a little less steep, but it's still, a moderate slope.
This triangle?
Yeah,
But we
510
have
down to
a- we-
597.
We have a lot of trees there,
Yeah.
all, everywhere practically. When you walk there, you can see, the bushes, there are trees. I mean, 40 years is the long time for vegetation to grow.
Yeah,
Right.
Could I
So-
inquire as to why restoration has been suggested in this area?
Basically, when you want to do restoration as close as possible to the area you take it out, and it is not possible to do this one because the slopes are very steep for this channel. So the closest area with a little less of the slope is right here. And I know that our wetland scientist, she thinks that she finds a little bit better area if we're gonna do wetland replication.
Right. So
yeah, it's smart to do it there. Or,
I'm trying to figure out, is it because we're disturbing other parts of the area, or is it because we have a deterioration?
when you fill in a wetland, you have to replicate it or replace it,
Okay,
so.
got
Yeah.
it. So this is okay.
And in this area, what we were talking about earlier, with Brandon's, and Ann had talked about over there, this area here.
Again,
If this were to be filled, we'd need to replicate it.
got it, okay.
Thank you.
Right, and you have to connect it to the same wetland that's receiving the same water. So I think that the best thing that would have been is to do expansion of the wetland between the faculty parking lot and the walkway, but that water is not connected to this wetland, and the water goes a completely different direction, so
That's correct.
you can't do it over there. It's not allowed by law.
Yeah.
So when you're going to go, this wetlands actually discharge across Lake Parkway somewhere in this location, and this one discharge further out.
Right.
So this is the brook, I've forgotten the name. What is the, Joe, what is the name of this brook? Freeman?
Mm-hmm.
And this one is discharged just to the wetland, a large area across Poland Street.
For what it's worth, the area, if needed, was going to be adjacent, just upstream, adjacent to wetland flag 205 of that more linear wetland system.
I don't have this
I don't
wetlands
know if
flags
that has
right
the
here.
flags on it.
So if I can ask a question now.
Sure.
I think everyone's indicated that there's possibilities of either reclamation or reusing area or reshaping it. Do you think a couple simple test pits would evaluate that, and then you could then address all these situations?
Which situation, why we need, what,
I think the first order is just to verify whether the impact, there is impact to BVW. As I explained earlier, that area to the north of the existing pathway was included in the delineation, but now that we understand the origin of drainage is stormwater driven, and that, so there was a reconsideration of that, of that area. And my new assessment based on the situation is that it's kind of an upgradient stream feature, drainage feature that feeds into the wetland, but it's upgradient to it, so it's such that it wouldn't be jurisdictional as a wetland resource area, whether as a bank to stream or land underwater or a BVW in this sense. So I think we just have to get over that hurdle. If it's not jurisdictional, then we don't need to provide any kind of wetland replication. If it's assessed and determined otherwise, then we would go to the next step.
I think I probably should rephrase that. In regard to maybe using potential subbase or permeable material that could be utilized in some areas, do you think maybe a couple simple test pits would evaluate that for us, and so that we can then see how we can maybe reshape areas or use this material for our benefit? That's the question I was trying to ask. I think
That
you,
wouldn't
sir.
be necessary, Jay.
No, it wouldn't be?
No,
Okay,
no,
Thank
it
you.
wouldn't be necessary.
I'm sorry, thank you.
I'll explain to you afterwards.
Okay.
All right, Brandon.
Yep, I'm getting there. I saw some Coltex proposed, which you've already been talking about. The standard is that the invert of the BMP, the bottom of it, has at least a 2-foot separation from your estimated seasonal high water table. And I want to know if any testing has been done in order to confirm or deny that.
Yes, we did test pits for each of the infiltration systems, and they are shown in the stormwater report. And we are providing 2 feet separation between the.
Which I presume Chuck is reviewing,
I
or
think
has
it was
reviewed.
included in the other submission.
Okay, good.
And we are providing 2 feet separation between the bottom of the system to the groundwater.
Okay. Okay, so back to the plan. You see that the wetland, it goes down to the south behind the row of houses there, and then it goes, kind of goes back up to the basketball courts, all right? There's a whole wetland and a stream system and vernal pool system all along behind those houses. So I heard some commentary about trying to mitigate stormwater to try to not exacerbate the amount of water behind those houses, which I fully support. I've already had some abutters come to me telling me about the stories with the flooding in the backyard, so I highly recommend that the applicant try to keep as much water from going into that area as possible, at least any, new impervious surfaces.
Is it, I mean, obviously, I'm a fan of, nature, doing its own thing. I had recommended doing the, not necessarily butterfly garden, but, the, what's that?
Retention?
Yeah, doing a, something that possibly that the school could use, and it's more of a naturalized rather than putting in a system, particularly having a discharge right where we've got folks that are talking about, I've got water issues. So, what I was thinking was next to that parking lot area, if you you're gonna have to level the whole thing anyway, you're gonna have equipment there, why not put in a depression if possible, and put in, a rain garden? I mean, do we think that that's a viable option?
Rain gardens are great educational devices.
Yeah,
Seeing it's a school, there might be a teacher somewhere that could teach a lesson there. Just a thought.
well, this whole area, Brandon, I don't know if you noticed, but it's gotten graded down, so it's almost completely level right now.
Yeah.
So to this little triangle area that I'm talking about, I keep looking at saying, is there a way we might be able to divert some water there instead of putting it into a conveyance and having it dump out next to someone's property that is having water issues anyway.
Yep.
And the parking lot here, the way it was before the modular classrooms went in, it was just a crescent. You're going to be adding additional asphalt in here with this new parking area
Yeah,
here.
this parking area where we are adding infiltration system
Yeah.
to mitigate this parking area. And this one basically is the existing, not existing because it was ripped out for modular classroom, but that was existing parking. We just simply follow exactly the layout, except that we have, instead of coming out right here, the new driveway is in this location.
Well, I mean, even if there was like what do they call it, a bioswale? It's almost like a rain garden, but it just runs along the parking lot.
Low-impact development,
Yeah, low impact.
LID.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, let's try to do some low-impact development on here rather than throw everything into pipes and containers and throwing it here and throwing it there.
Yeah, which it sounds to me like the whole stormwater piping system is probably not even fully mapped out. Since it was 1979, who knows? I know they've done a lot of good work, but
Yeah.
I'm just pointing this out. Back then, they did not always document this.
So, I mean, are we in agreement that we'd like to try to see if you can come up with some sort of a bio system here where it would complement the
kind
school,
of
but also,
detention area maybe with wetland vegetation would be the easiest way.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to give us a little bit more area. I mean, this area is already disturbed, so I
Yeah.
think, digging out 2-3 feet extra of down, it should not be a problem.
yeah.
But I still think you're going to need an overflow to cross over that road.
Oh, yeah, it's still going, this way like it was before,
Yeah, yeah,
right
okay.
here.
Okay, all right, so we've got that.
Okay, I have to ask an
Additional?
obvious question.
Sure.
Which I think I already know the answer to, but I think from a impact avoidance and minimization requirement, I need to ask. The walkway that's going to be increased to 20 feet in width is being extended to the north towards the wetland, What is preventing it from not doing that, but extending south in the ball field? What was the rationale for extending it to the north towards the wetland within 25 feet of the wetland, which is usually an area the commission likes to stay away from,
You
as
talking
opposed to
about-
the south?
You're talking about this area? The walkway? Yeah, I know, the thing is that there is a existing fence right along this edge, and the problem is that if we're gonna extend to this area, the site is very tight, we're gonna lose part of the fields.
Okay, that's all. I just wanted to mention it, and if the commission wants to do anything with it, you can do
Well,
something.
if it
Just
is,
simply, you know, that there is no, if, as I said, if we're gonna move the fence by those 10 feet in south, we're gonna lose area of the field, of the playing fields. Because there is no extra room there right now. And replacing fence, it would be kind of expensive also.
So it's an expense you want to try to,
No, that, not only expense, but I said losing area of the play areas.
okay, because on the north side, it's not as flat as the field, so I imagine there's going to be some grading that
No,
will be
it
necessary.
is very flat, actually. The only area when we, it's very flat, and I had, you know, problem just simply go with the straight grading. That's why, you know, I had to add more catch basins to, basically the slope on the driveway is like 1%. So I cannot go any steeper. The only area which is little, you know, has little bit more grading is right here.
Okay, I just wanted to bring that to the commission's attention. You run with it if you want to. Almost done. I heard that the seed mix proposed for the field is going to be a Kentucky bluegrass, maybe fescue mix. I just want to mention that Kentucky bluegrass is a water hog. So if there's any other grass mix that you can use that would be applicable to a ball field like that, that can withstand the kind of abuse that it's going to take from the kids running over it, that is more, a grass that is more drought tolerant, I highly recommend that. Okay? And my final comment is something that I always recommend when stormwater is involved, and that is to make, when you finally write your order of conditions and your special order, to incorporate the operation and maintenance plan, the long-term pollution prevention plan, and the construction period erosion and sediment control plan as special conditions, just as they were written in the stormwater report. Just basically copy it and make an addendum to your special conditions, and they're right there.
Yeah, the long-term pollution prevention plan was included in the submission, and also because site is quite large, we're gonna have
Yes.
to prepare SWIP as well, and it's gonna be ENOI submission at minimum 2 feet before, 2 weeks before construction starts, and we're gonna provide copy to the commission, of course.
Right, that was in their report. So there's a SWIP, but there's also the O&M plan required through the Massachusetts Stormwater standards, right?
Yeah, they were there are.
They're not necessarily mutually exclusive, but it's good to have all of them.
Yeah, they were included in original submission. There are some changes after coordinations and comment from planning board reviewer, and we apply for stormwater permit from planning board. So the final booklet with stormwater management will be provided to the commission.
Okay, thank you, that's all I have.
all right. You have
I
a
do
question,
I have a
Rich?
question for Brendan.
Yes, sir.
Can you give me your opinion about that central wetland area, the substantial amount of rainwater that's going to be coming off that, the parking lot?
The faculty parking lot to
Yeah,
the
and the
north
fact
of
that
it.
there's actually no sort of retention of that? water?
Well, it goes into the catch basins, and then it discharges directly into the wetland right there.
And,
Yeah.
and
Right.
then, you know, there is a outlet pipe, which is, if I remember, 24-inch in diameter, which take any water from this area and send to a drainage system and then to the pond.
Right to the pond.
It's not like it's isolated and keep the water entirely.
I mean, are the catch basins there already? Are they deep sump catch basins with hoods or not?
Right here, there is a, on,
The faculty parking lot?
yeah,
Are
it's
they,
only one.
it's the only one there?
Right, and this actually, the discharge is from the middle school. I think from their drainage system, from this wetland, and going down into discharge right here. So the only thing which connects to this big drainage system with our parking is this catch basin.
Right, so the question is there any room for improvement, and is there any requirement for improvement under the stormwater standards? And I think I heard from Alicia that there's going to be really no increase. I think there's going to be a little extra walkway.
No,
down
the walkway,
there.
all this area basically is within the
The already
pavement.
existing impervious, so there's no new impervious in that area. I think what she's saying is that would trigger the requirement to do anything more over there.
No, because actually, you know, there is a part of the existing sidewalk which we are removing. So basically, we're more or less even, and we're adding water quality unit to take TSS removal from the parking.
Is there a way to possibly enhance this with, say, 1 or 2 islands that can catch some additional water? Because this, I can tell you right now, this parking lot has been in deplorable condition for quite a long time. And I don't even know, I mean, there's so many ruts and whatnot, and I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, the stormwater that's in there is failed in some way, shape, or form. But I, along with Rich, and I alluded to this early on, is that I feel like that wetland area, you know, once you start up, when you upgrade in a parking lot like this, it's going to naturally take on more water. And this is a small, on screen here, it looks like a sizable wetland. This is not a very sizable wetland. And you're going to be increasing the size of this emergency drive from the fields in the back up to over here. So, you know, there's a bit more water that this wetland is going to take. And what happens when we get, like what we might get tonight, we could get 4 to 5 inches of rain in one storm on a brand new parking lot like this. It dumps into the wetland's taking its own water and all the additional water from all the other conveyances. And could it, you know, I think what I've seen in the past is it not doing its thing, and it's destroyed the pavement from before, but also could this potentially flood? And what do we do in that circumstance? And we've already got the condo complex that's a bit nervous with what's going on as well. So,
And
you know.
just to add to that, my
We
biggest
are-
concern is salt and sand, like in the
that
winter.
too, yeah,
right?
there's that
We
That's what's
too.
are
gonna-
not increasing impervious flow going into this wetland. That's why we have this infiltration system. The existing part of the existing pavement, this one right here, is discharging to the wetland without any mitigations. And we encountered this one from this point and send to infiltration system, clear it up, hold it, and then any remaining going into this little wetland. We are not adding any flow to it.
Right.
And you
But-
know, I hope that we are not decreasing the flow, because if we're going to decrease too much, we're going to starve this wetland. We need water coming in.
Still, looking at this, is there a way to, you know, I mean, rejig 2, 3, or 4 parking spots somewhere else to add some sort of island in the center of this to get some vegetation because we are in a we're in a warming climate, but also perhaps some water could be diverted to that little island to take on a little extra water.
You
You know?
know, the thing is that the way the grading on this parking is, everything is going right down to the sketch basin. We would have to do really regrading of the area and adding those islands, and it's gonna be really expensive. And project is already on the very tight budget. We already removed many things, you know, which we thought that we're gonna have, which we are not able to do. So this parking, the only thing which is gonna be, it's going to be, we're adding water quality unit, 1 or 2 catch basins. It's gonna be restriped, and that's it. Just, you know, adding a little, mill the top layer and repaved, nothing else.
Joey, if I can jump in, I think if I heard you right, if you did put in, if needed, a couple of islands, and then there's a point of discharge from that island area, and what's typically done is you put a little diffuser standpipe so that if the rise of water is 2 or 3 feet,
Yeah.
it discharges naturally. And is that what you're referring to, Joe? I'm just
Yeah,
trying
I
to
mean,
follow
that's,
your
even
logic.
if it's just one here, we're adding some vegetation in there. We're getting maybe at least one tree in there. You can have it so that, you know, if you get a real sheet flow off that parking lot, some water can go into it. I'm just looking at some way of adding in something rather than just a straight up parking lot here and sort of complement this buffer zone area, you know, rather than just throw everything into a pipe, you
If
know,
you're gonna-
and, you know, I mean, you don't need to add several islands, but even if there's just one in the middle, that, you know, it just adds some, you know, aesthetics, but also it can suck up some water.
This is
And there's a
overflow.
natural grass that you can use in wetland areas that, I think that's what you're referring to, that'll absorb a lot of
It can
water.
be
And
designed-
not just a natural seed.
Can
And
be
I think that's what you're
designed the way
referring to.
that they can design it, but
This
that's
is,
what I'm highly
Joe,
recommending.
This is overflow parking, which is rarely used.
Yeah, I know.
We have a curb right here which is going to be repaired. And we don't have anything in this island. We can drop, you know, 1 tree or 2. We have a trees right here. We have a really heavy line of trees along this edge.
Yeah.
So it's not, you know, the issue with Heat Island because we have a sun from south, and basically you have a shade all in this area. And then we have then on this side, which I think is just the grass because we have the playing field right here. It just simply, you know, there is no money for, you know, really nothing except just restriping this area.
I'm just looking at a lot of asphalt and a one general area there, and if we could somehow, instead of just pushing the water into drains, you know, somehow get it into the ground. And it is overflow parking. I've never seen that parking lot completely full. So, I mean, to lose 1 or 2 more spots for the sake of some
Yeah, but you
vegetation,
know, then we're
not a big,
talking.
it shouldn't be a big deal.
Well, we're talking, you know, especially with those prices, if we're gonna put island, you know, and we're gonna have to regrade this one, we're talking $50,000 or $60,000 at minimum.
To not have to have it paved?
They leave it alone like this?
I can,
Because,
All
you
right.
know, if it's gonna be really a problem with this one, though, I don't know if school gonna decide to do anything with this parking. It's not up to me.
I had
ahead,
another
Mitch.
question for Brandon. Brandon, did you look at this wetland?
Oh,
And-
yeah.
And do you have an opinion as to the state of this wetland? Is it deteriorating? Is it functional as is, being that it's been here for multiple
On the
years?
scale of poor to excellent, I would rate it as fair.
Okay.
that scale being fair,
Yeah.
do you think
On
that is
page,
adequate that's being
one.
proposed? It's a question, I believe.
Should the additional
It's the
BMPs
second
be
picture,
imposed?
folks, in the packet.
I think it's mostly, the BMPs would be good for water quality. So even downstream, going into the pond and then wherever it goes from there. This wetland itself, it's not in its former glory. I think it was much more extensive, so it's already been compromised, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that it's a piece of junk, but it's not exactly at the same quality as the wetland more in the southeast that's more expansive, that has the vernal pool. Absolutely, this is not a vernal pool, in my opinion. So, you know, you got poor, fair, good, excellent. I would rate it as fair. But then again, the water going into it, you know, it could be flashy. So, you know, storm damage prevention, part of it, to try and mediate flows.
So if we're gonna put a water quality unit, we're gonna take out a lots of TSS. It should improve the wetland itself, right?
Yes, that would be good, but yes,
And
yes,
that's what we
you're right.
propose right here. The shape might be a little different of the structure itself, but definitely we're gonna have a water quality unit treating all this parking.
You're called. And I don't want to spend the town's money unnecessarily either, but what thing is that you usually get one bite at the apple,
Well,
right?
I mean, that's
This is
what
when
I'm thinking.
everything's happening. So if you're going to recommend something, recommend it now.
I mean, that's why I'm bringing these things up. I mean, if we can, you know, not just have it necessarily, I mean, it's not asphalt central, but if we can avoid, minimize, mitigate, which is this board's jurisdiction to protect wetlands, but also it helps to enhance the community and helps to enhance, you know, let nature clean the groundwater rather than throwing it into pipes and then dumping it in somewhere else.
Not to mention that,
You
you know,
know.
if this was a private project, that we would be definitely,
We would be putting, yeah, we would be doing the same thing because we have a standard here at this board. So looking at everything we obviously talked about tonight, and Brandon, thank you for your, you know, reconnaissance and report, and thank you folks for coming in. I think what we would need for our next round is to, obviously, you need to view Brandon's report and whatnot. I would, you know, first take a look at, you know, what can be done with potential, you know, same thing like what I was talking about at the beginning there, diverting where the modular classrooms are. If we can get a bioswale or, you know, rain garden in there, that would be ideal, and it could tie into the school. I think that wherever the wetlands are, the commission is going to require signs. So if you could possibly start maybe just every, I don't know, maybe every 10 or 15 feet, there's so many. But some of these critical areas, you know, maybe at least get those on the plan. Because once we review it and we approve the project, we have to approve the plan as submitted. So we'd like to see where the signs are going to go. That say, you know, wetland. Working in some sort of a compost area that's not necessarily going to be intrusive, but it's kind of tucked out of the area and it's not obviously next door wetland. Kentucky bluegrass, if there's something else that is a viable option. I don't know, Brandon, you've done millions of projects. I don't know if you got something you can recommend. And I'm sure you've done projects where you need to, you know, if we need to swap that out. Folks, what else? I feel like I'm missing one other thing.
Maybe the drain areas where they might have to be looked at to maybe some reconfiguration possibly, like that
Yeah.
main drainage area that discharges.
Yeah.
That was talked about by.
The,
I mean, we cannot be responsible for any drainage, which is, from other properties like condominiums or up, the wetland and Eastern Avenue. We cannot do, and spend money mitigating others' people problems.
well, I would identify it, I mean, I'm going to talk with planning as well and see what we can work as a unified.
So if I may ask, what you propose about this parking lot? I mean, you think that water quality unit, which going to improve the flow and water coming into the wetland is not enough?
I mean, it's not necessarily just the flow, Alicia. It's integrating getting some naturalized, allowing the water to get to the ground rather than getting into a piped system.
Yeah, but
And-
it's not going into pipe system, it's going to this wetland. If we're gonna intercept this water any earlier than this, we're not gonna have enough water coming into the wetland. Because this water gonna go into the ground, it's not gonna go into the wetland, and this is existing condition. So we're gonna remove flow from existing condition. You're not afraid that we're gonna starve this wetland because not gonna be enough water?
I didn't hear half of what you said.
What?
I
Oh, I'm
didn't hear
sorry.
half of what you said. I got part of it. So I'm
Okay.
trying to process it. But what I'm saying is whether, somewhere what I'm thinking is something that can help convey water into the ground, whether it's even if you took that island that's at the end, and maybe that island at the other end on the other side there, maybe those become the parking lots, but you get an island in the middle there, and if they're going to regrade this to redo it, why not have them put a depression or something in there to take on some water? And then if that gets flooded, then it connects to a pipe and it can overflow into the wetland.
You see that a lot in cul-de-sacs, Mr. Chairman.
What's that?
You see that's now in a lot of cul-de-sacs at the end.
Well, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
There's not just a big circle of asphalt in the middle, there's an island in the middle, but it's not raised. It's
Yeah.
actually sunk, it has scuppers
Yep.
leading
Yeah.
the stormwater into it where it can then infiltrate, but there's still an overflow if needed be.
Yeah, I mean, it could still be an overflow, but I mean, clearly you've got some commissioners here that are concerned about the amount of water that this little wetland's taken on, and our storms aren't getting any nicer to us here in New England. So, if we can incorporate something that is low impact, why not do it?
So what we
So,
can
yeah,
do.
the stone vegetation swale, I
And-
think is what
yeah,
you
and
might
that's-
be referring to.
That's the other thing too. It's like asphalt, 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 asphalt.
So what we can do, this island has raised a curb. If we're gonna remove the curb, the water gonna go into this grass area when we're gonna put some trees. Is it this acceptable?
Brandon, did you?
I heard about half of it. Can you repeat?
Yeah, we have a raised curb right here on this island. So if we're gonna remove the curb,
Yeah.
so the water, because the grading is going that way. So the part of the parking gonna go into this grass area, and we can put maybe like a 1 foot of stone underneath or sand, and whatever gonna infiltrate, and if not, it's just simply gonna go over into the paved area. Is it acceptable?
Yeah, I mean, if you could pitch that, even half of the parking lot to go to that one area, Alicia, at least you're using some, it's not just completely, asphalt. And maybe, you can throw some grasses in there that look nice and they suck up a lot of water. I mean, you see them, like Brandon said, and, that's exactly what I'm thinking about. Cul-de-sacs. You're starting to see them in some communities in their parking lot developments, rather than, you know, they utilize the stormwater management system underground as almost, in some cases,
Yeah,
you know, last resort.
I wouldn't have any problem to putting, like a little grass area, but then we're not gonna have enough for the width of the depth of the island.
No, and I mean, you know, and the thing too is, you know, I'm not looking to have a lawn thrown in here and it's additional because there is an added expense to mow that every year. But if there's something that we can put in here that is, nature can do its thing, the water, you know, even if half the parking lot's pitched to it, and it's a little more aesthetically pleasing, it breaks up the sea of asphalt, and you're allowing nature to do its thing. Silts and sands, if they get in there and they go in there, fine, they're going in there. They're not necessarily flowing into the wetland. You know, so it's there's several benefits of doing something like that.
Okay, we can talk with our landscape consultant
Yeah.
about something which hopefully it's not gonna cost lots of money, but take out some pavement from it.
Yeah, I mean, does the board, anyone else have comments on this?
The project with Lakeside, where they, in their new area, didn't they have some sort of cement structure where there's?
And
Sunnyside
Sunnyside Estates at the
Yeah,
end,
allows
yeah,
for
that's
cleaning
exactly,
out.
yeah, you do it
So what I was.
once or twice a year.
What I was thinking
you know,
about was just
every other
something
year.
that would collect sediment that could easily be cleaned out, and you're sort of preserving, and the discharge going into the wetland is cleaner than what, just coming right off the asphalt.
Yeah, you take the top off, they clean out the inside, and
That's
it's all
what
done,
we
but there's also,
propose those special structures, water quality units, which treat the flow coming in, remove sediment from the flow, and then much cleaner flow enters wetlands.
So that's in the proposal now?
Those are proposed, everywhere. It's called right here, for example, on the outlet. And it's gonna treat about more, we are obligated to treat 80% of total suspended soil before it goes into wetlands.
we don't, Dawn, we don't have Chuck's comments, do we? I haven't seen Chuck's comments. Because, it would be nice to see Chuck weigh in on a little bit on this, and then,
I know I
a
can
rain
get his
garden in the
comments from
front.
planning, but we try to keep
yeah.
Yeah, we are working.
conservation, but I know,
I think we're near the end of the
I can get his comments.
It's important for us to look at it because he's looking at stormwater and,
And Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
if I might, Alicia, I have noticed some changes in the plans and stuff like that. Can you please make sure you email me any changes as they're happening? Because even like Brandon said, he reviewed what I sent him, but I'm looking at what you gave me as well, which is what I gave him, and it doesn't match the
Right,
plans.
it
So
doesn't
you need
match.
to keep us posted, so what I'm giving the commission members, everybody's looking at and can discuss what's actual, not something that's old.
Right, we're gonna send the revised plans, and from the drainage perspective on the civil side, this is the only change right here, because Chuck didn't like a dry well being installed and then discharge into this channel. So instead of dry well, we have a manhole, and we are connecting the pipe into this existing 18-inch pipe. And we are working with Chuck on those different water quality units which are requested by the town.
Yep.
And he already got the any revised stormwater management, and we have another planning board, it's end of the month. I don't remember exactly. This is
So the
28th?
other thing too, before I forget, was the dye test too. We need the dye test probably before the next
Yeah, the
meeting,
dye
if
test,
possible.
Okay.
And then, Brandon, were you just going to cross-check that wetland one last time over there? Or is it
We're
necessary?
going to make one more visit out there, and I can go
Yeah.
there.
So, and let us know if
I
we
can go
have
with
to-
Andrea or not.
Okay,
It might be some value in having Andrea go as well.
okay, yeah, so there's that, and then if the replication area needs to be factored in, that we would just need to have that factored in. All right.
So
Any-
the only thing, do you know when the next hearing gonna be?
Do,
If I might, Mr. Chairman, it's up to the commission, but the meeting for August 21st is already 2 pages long. Just an FYI.
yeah,
I'm
the-
not sure you're going to want to add.
yeah, the 21st, is a bit,
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
it's just, so the next meeting would be Monday, September 11th, after the 21st. So that would give everybody time to update the plans with some of the
factor in everyone's
items.
comments.
And then I'm not sure if I heard you, I know you guys were looking for additional information on the irrigation system for the sports field.
Yeah, I was just, if there could be and that was the other thing, was if there could be you can claim some of the rainwater, can hold there and then utilize it, if that might be something that's possible. I mean, why not?
So September 11th, I think, or we're,
An MACC board meeting night.
I'm sorry?
It's an MACC board meeting night.
Oh, yes, it is.
So we're
Do we
intending,
want to, does the board want to meet on a separate, are we open to meeting on a separate night like we did for tonight?
Yep.
I mean, it's kind of nice to deal with just this project because it is a sizable project. We're not feeling rushed with all the other
Yeah,
projects running. What do you think?
can
I think we should, as long as
can I ask a question?
we have all the, because we've kind of only heard it all tonight, and we're going to assimilate it, and then get Brendan's stuff as well as theirs. But I wouldn't mind another site visit either.
Okay.
I would like to say that we're trying to put our project out to bid
Yeah,
on September the 15th.
okay.
So that's, for us, we would like to have that, before the September the 15th, if that's possible.
What about one of those Mondays in between?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. So we've got the 21st, we've got the 28th, folks.
Yeah, I can do the 20th.
28th, Monday, the 28th?
I personally have a conflict on the 28th. September 4th is wide open.
That's not the day, though, right?
Sorry,
that's
September
Labor Day.
7. No, what is it? No, September 4th is a Monday.
Is anyone opposed to a Thursday?
Not I.
I have a hard time coming here.
I'm sorry?
I'd have to really have notice. I have a lot of patients on a Thursday.
All right, so Thursday won't work for you?
I'd have to have at least 2 weeks' notice.
All right.
But again, they have a time crunch financially, so I could, like I said, one time I could change my schedule.
What about a Tuesday? Does a Tuesday work for folks? I mean, we might not be in this room, but we'll find a place to. Does Tuesday work?
Yeah.
Tuesday work for you? Does Tuesday work for you folks? If need be? I was thinking the 22nd? No, 29th, sorry. That would be,
I think we have a planning board, which is Monday, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do it 29th. 22nd I could do.
I can do 22nd.
22nd? Are you good for the 22nd?
We have things ready
I
for
can
the
do it,
22nd?
yeah.
Can we put things together by the
22nd?
22nd? Can we revise all this for the 22nd?
is planning
Yeah.
board.
No, can we revise?
That's what I was trying to avoid.
I know, he's asking if they make that the date.
Yeah, we can,
Again,
but they're not gonna have all information.
Kelly, do you think it'd be advantageous if, because they're in a time
Well, that's what I'm trying to
consideration,
do. I'm trying
Do
to,
you think that if somehow we could get the information on the 20th, just to review it a little bit so that you review, you know what I'm trying to say, and then puts us more in sync, would that be a possibility?
well, there's a standard that everyone needs to get their information to the board 5 days prior for us to review. So there is that standard, Jay, so.
You don't want to reverse.
So,
My issue with the 29th is that my wife's having surgery, and there
Okay.
might be complications.
yep.
But
Wednesday for anyone? I can make it, obviously, I can make any day work, so. What, Robin,
Yeah,
Wednesday?
Wednesday's fine.
Wednesday's okay? Is Wednesday okay with you?
Yeah.
Either the 30th or 23rd? Anything?
30th, if you're going to have me here. I
30th.
have an ongoing date with the Sutton Concom first and third Wednesdays.
All right. So it looks like the 30th is the best we could do. But you are maybe.
No, I'm good.
Okay, all right. Thursday,
So that means if I.
so Wednesday, the 30th, tentatively, and then I guess if we need to,
I'll just have to look into what rooms might be available and that type of thing, which obviously.
I'll be
will
honest with you, I was
postponed.
expecting a bigger crowd. Thank you, everyone that came.
Just let us know if you need hard copy for the next hearing, or we can use a screen. Depends on the
Don-
room.
Yeah, Don will get you, Don will let you know. Probably, you know what might be helpful is a hard copy that's colored out. That would, almost like the entire school, just like this 11 by 7, what was this, 11 by 17? I think that would be good for everyone. That way we can see the whole school on one page, see where the wetlands are, what's going where. That would be
Yeah,
great.
I understand, but then, for presentations, so probably if it's gonna be hard copy, you need larger size. But obviously preferable, if we can use a computer, it would be better for us.
Okay, yeah.
And you could almost put no 1, 2, 3, 4 for the 4 or 5 possible proposals, and then we could share that information pretty quickly, I believe.
Or even your slide presentation that you had tonight
Yeah,
was
yeah.
great.
Yeah, like these, yeah, I mean, these that visually show
Yeah,
what's
no, those are
going where.
great,
Yeah,
each
these,
one of those.
these here work out best for us, Alicia, because
Automatic-
we're
you
used
can-
to looking at plans like this, and when they're colored out like this, it's really great. So, if you can show the new, things that you're enhancing, and that way it's new plans to Dawn, and if any last twiddling of the knobs that we need to do, and then we can see if we can move it along.
Okay, so
Anything else, commissioners? Anything else for us, folks?
the 30th,
I'm sorry?
the 30th?
Yes, September,
No,
August
not
30th. August 30th, it's a Wednesday, yes. So I need a motion.
Do you also want the 20-foot walkway maybe revisited? That width of that walkway?
It has to be 20
Oh,
for
it has to be. I'm
fire.
sorry,
Yeah,
good
it's
enough.
it's
Thank you.
more than likely
I'm
for
sorry.
fire.
Thank you.
Yeah, but that's a good point. Thank you, Jay. So a motion for a continuance for the Bartlett High School project, 52 Lake Parkway, to Wednesday, August 30th, please.
I'll make a motion that we continue this discussion on August 30th regarding high school Bartlett project.
I second.
Okay, so that's a first from Commissioner Parent, a second from Commissioner Jewell, and a roll call. Commissioner Jewell,
Yes.
Commissioner Camerata,
Yes.
Commissioner Parent,
Yes.
Commissioner Sharon, Commissioner Wigglesworth is a yes. All right, thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Okay, anything you need, reach out to our department, all right? Yes, meeting starts at 5:30, yep, we'll be at 5:30. Thank you. All right, commissioners, so the other thing we've got on our agenda is we need a continuance for 6 Black Point Road. This is Michael Hopkins, COC. So can we get a continue on this until, I believe, the 21st of August, please?
Motion, we continue 0 Black Point Road until the 21st of August.
All right, so Commissioner Jewell with the first on the continuance for 6 Black Point, and do we have a second? Commissioner Sharon with the second, and a roll call, Commissioner Jewell? Yes. Commissioner Camerata? Yes. Commissioner Parent?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharon? Yes. Commissioner Wigglesworth is a yes. And just one last moment, I'll let everyone clear out. And, all right, so meeting minutes for July 10th. Have we had a chance to review the meeting minutes from July 10th? And if so, is there any discussion? That would be four of us. Okay. All right, do we have a motion to approve the meeting minutes as written for July 10th?
I make a motion to approve the meetings as the minutes of the meeting from July 10th.
Okay. All right, so a first from Commissioner Sharon, a second from Commissioner Camerata, and roll call, Commissioner Jewell? Commissioner Camerata?
Yes.
Commissioner Parent?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharon?
Yes.
Commissioner Wigglesworth is a yes. Meeting minutes for July 24th, have we had a chance to review them? Is there any discussion on them? Hearing no discussion, do we have a motion to approve the meeting minutes as written?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting of July 24th.
Okay, Commissioner Sharon with the first, do we have a second?
You go.
Commissioner Camerata with the second, and a roll call, Commissioner Jewell?
Yes.
Commissioner Camerata?
Yes.
Commissioner Parent?
Yes.
Commissioner Sharon?
Yes.
Commissioner Wigglesworth is a yes. Next up, staff report.
All right. Hi, everyone.
Aye.
I would like to welcome Jay Camarado. I am awful with names. I apologize, Jay. But welcome to the commission. We look forward to working with you. The only staff report item that I have, and I would like all the commission members to look at their schedules for the upcoming year. I know it seems like 2024 is far away, but I would like to start working on the meeting schedule for the 2024 and hopefully have something in place by the end of, September, October, so we can get it posted, all of us know deadlines and stuff like that. As I've stated before, especially the ads for newspapers and legals and all of that, they're requiring more of a time frame, so I may have to tweak how we're doing things to make sure that, everything's getting met within the 21-day period from the time we receive it stamped and get the legal done. So if we have a schedule pretty much planned out for the whole entire year of 2024, I can get all my deadlines all set and figure out how I'm going to make sure that everything gets done, as well as the state is getting more stringent with their filing deadlines. So there's a lot of working parts that, really need to take some planning, because when we have this meeting, some of the deadlines for the next meetings, legal ads already have to be in no later than like Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. So as much as I'm working on this current meeting, the other one's well in the works. So I'm a good planner. So I think if we all kind of just look, if there's any dates that do not work for you, of course, some stuff is going to come up, vacations, et cetera, that you might not know about, but I figured I would at least ask you guys if you know of anything currently that will not work, and then I can just work around it.
If at times something doesn't work, 2-week vacation or whatever, can you somehow, I've been in meetings where either a telephone or a simple communication so that you're actually part of the meeting, but you're remote, is that?
Not at this time, that the town is elected to not do that, only in exigent circumstances. But we have, we had voted as a board, and the town uses the Mullen Rule. And the Mullen Rule is you can miss a meeting, but you must review the recordings, and you must review the minutes if they are available, and you need to, at the next meeting, claim the Mullen Rule before we start talking about it. Otherwise, you need to not vote on that project, because then that will put us in a bad spot. So, violation, open meeting law.
It's just some people normally each year will go on vacation extend their long weekend and go on vacation this week and next week. So that's kind of what I'm looking for, just to hopefully make sure we have a quorum.
Yeah, we
For
you
the
know,
most part.
we get that. I appreciate everyone, obviously, volunteer board, but
Yes.
just, let me and Dawn know if you can't make it here. If you're running late, please just text me, let me know. We really got to start starting at 5:30. I know folks are driving from different places, but we really got to get going with starting on time. It has been noticed that we're not starting on time. The other thing, real quick, is she's not here tonight, but I do want to recognize Candace Shivers. She will be a new Conservation Commissioner. You may see her at the next meeting, I believe.
I believe so.
So, just want to give a shout out to her. And so we're building the board back up. Thank you, everyone, for your time. Anything else in the report?
I am.
All right, so
Next.
our next meeting, just so that we're clear and so the public is clear, the 21st of August will be our next scheduled meeting. We will be having the Bartlett High School project on the 30th of August. So with that, can I get a motion of adjournment at 7:56?
I motion we adjourn at 7:56.
All right, first from Commissioner Jewell, do we have a second?
I will second.
All right, a second from Commissioner Sharon, all in favor? Yes. All right, thank you very much. Have a good night, everyone. Meeting adjourned.
There's a meeting 8:21. What was the other date? 8:30 or something?